Hey, Coach, I was just looking at the last year game, and that was Coach Dean and them, but
Yeah.
was it anything you could learn from, facing the Bears? It looks like, he ran 18 times that game.
Yeah.
Through 21.
Well, that's what he's doing, right? I mean, and it's been more recent since he's been back from the injury. So I think there's a lot of similarities from that game last year until, like I said, coming back from the injury. So he's doing a really good job running the ball. He's doing a really good job extending plays. And I think that's been the difference in their offense is that, it's not just, hey, I'm going to take the throw or whatever. It's, hey, I'm going to extend. I'm going to create. He's dynamic in the pocket. And then when he gets out, he's even better than that, And so, we're watching some situational football, and he's in the red zone, and he's scrambling around. Guy gets open. We've got to do a great job in plaster and keeping him in the pocket because that's when it's really, it's unbelievable the stuff that he's doing. And then he had the scramble last week and scrambles for like 30 yards down the sideline and breaks 3 tackles. And, he's a big, strong guy who can really run, So we got a challenge. It's going to be a good challenge, good rushing offense. They're playing pretty well right now.
How do you simulate that? Do you almost have to take 2 different plays? Like, do you almost have to take a guy in the pocket and then take whether it's perhaps a running back or receiver and have, how do you manage to even try to do that?
Yeah, so it starts in individual. Plaster drills an individual, and then the scramble, how the techniques keep them in. And then when we get to the team periods, Mike, it's got to be, we've got to simulate it as best you can. You never can, like, playing all those scrambles. It's never going to be exactly, like it is on Sunday, but you try to make it as close to it as possible and give the guys the simulation. So that we did that some yesterday. We'll do some more today. We'll do some more tomorrow. Work all the way up till the game.
What makes Jessie worthy of being an All-Pro?
What doesn't? The guy does everything. It's a good question. It really is because when you try to poke holes in the game, there's really, what does he not do well? That's the thing. And I'll tell you this. He is he's just such a great leader. And just, when you watch him on the sideline, before and after the plays, on the sideline, just interacting with his teammates and just how he handles himself. And it's just like he's confident and he knows he can do, the job that he's asked to do with whatever scheme we're playing. It doesn't matter. And then how he coaches up, the different players on the team. And so it all starts there. So he brings a lot of confidence to the back end, to our defense, the leadership, those type of things. And then, look, when he gets on the field, he's a really good practice player. He works really hard at the mental part of the game, film study. He watches tape with the guys together. And then look at the body of the work for the season. Good space tackler. Takes the ball away when it's in the air. Gets his hands on a lot of PBUs, disruptions, those type of things. And so when you're kind of looking at the whole package, you're going, look, where's a weakness in the guy's game? And here's the thing with him is, look, let's just keep pushing. Let's see. All right, you got whatever the number is. Let's get another one, or let's continue to work the tackling, the punch outs. Whatever he's doing on the field. But I've seen him grow, not just what you're seeing the product on the field. It's behind the scenes, the white light. Seen him grow since he's been here. And to me, that's been the biggest. And I know you're the voting, the Pro Bowl, and stuff like that you're talking about. Not everybody sees that part, but the impact is as important outside the white lines than as inside the white lines, and that's what's really impressive about him.
I'm sure you had heard of him before coming here. He came here, but did the expectations meet reality, or did he surprise you?
I don't know if there was any expectations. That's fair. That's fair to say. It's just, look, when we all got together and started this in OTAs with the players and the coaches and everything, it's, year one. Year one is we're just, and now we're towards the end of the year and we all know each other and kind of what guys' strengths and weaknesses are and things like that, and kind of we put it all together. But I don't know. I don't think it's fair to say hey, we expected him to have 5 interceptions, or any of the guys. but we did know. Here's a couple. What did we know? Very good ball skills, solid open field tackler. What I didn't know is the leadership and the things, the things that you kind of try to talk to some people about the guy and everything. Now that has exceeded what I ever had thought about, with the type of player that we would get in here. It's the intangibles.
It's like Harrison, the last 2 weeks, it seems like he finally sort of figured some stuff out, or at least got home. What is it that you feel like you've done with him to kind of get him to this point from where he was at the start of the season?
Well, there's a couple of things here, right? It's a total team group effort in terms of this. We've got a lot of veteran players in the room. Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, David Onyemata, Grady Jarrett, and then the coaching, Dave Huxtable, Goat, and Mario. Those guys have done a fantastic job, and so it's been a. And then look, Zach has really put the work in. Zach, you appreciate Zach because he asked all the right questions, and it's not questioning you; it's questioning why we're doing something. So he really understands, why the technique it is, and things like that. But he gets all the credit. He has busted his butt learning the defense, the scheme, the technique, and then weight room, the strength, just continued on. And it does take, there's some guys that immediate, but then some guys, a lot of guys, take a little time to get going. And his play time steadily increased. He makes a play, confidence builds, success, confidence, and you just keep playing like that. And do I think he's at the ceiling? No, I think there's some we still got some work to do, and he can get better. But I'm fired up about his progress at the point that he's at right now.
The work you guys, there's so much work you put into it, but the work that you do with him and with some of the other young guys in that, was it 2 hours before the game? Are you in those sessions drilling home certain things that you feel like are going to be applicable to that specific game? Because it always looks similar, but I don't know. I'm not a coach. I don't know if there's little nuances. You're like, I'm going to work this way because of X.
So kind of the philosophy a little bit behind that is before we have team periods in practice, we have an individual, right? And so you're working fundamentals technique in order to get ready for whatever the team period in practice plays are. And so treat the game as practice. Don't treat everything the same. Whenever we put the helmet, shoulder pads on, it's all the same. Have the same mentality, the same routine. Don't treat one more than the other because then that's the ups and downs and things like this. And so try to treat everything the same. And so before practice, we'd have an individual. So why not do the same thing before the game? Pre-game, when you go out with it, it's not enough. It's 3 minutes, 5 minutes, what it is. So we'll get out there and we'll do a lot of the warm-ups and the techniques that we do before practice here or during individual here right before the game. And so just try to make it as practice and game-like as much as possible. So there's a lot of things to that, Mike, but try to make it as similar as we can. That's why we do it.
Have you done that? Have you always done that? Or is that?
For the most part, yes. For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, Coach, the run game, your run defense against the Bears, they're ranked 2 in rushing.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like one of the key matchups today for this game. How do you see your run defense matching up against their run concepts?
Yeah, we got a big challenge. In that, quarterback's part of that, and containing him when he drops back to throw is part of that as well. So we got to do our job, do our responsibility. We've got to have great leverage. We've got to keep the ball, to our leverage, and then we got to be gap disciplined. Can't be hopping out of gaps and because there's so many things that they do in the run game that you get out of gap and man, it hits you for 8-10, and next thing you know, first down and things keep going. So we've got to really do our job, stay on our guys, fundamentals technique, eyes in the right places, and then in coverage. Hey, the other thing is we got plaster, and not let them get out and keep them in there, plaster. And so it's going to take all 11 in the run and the pass together. So that's kind of how we're treating it.
And somebody mentioned that they get the receivers involved in the run game.
Yeah, they do. They get everybody involved. I mean, there's a lot of guys that get touches out of the backfield, sweeps, things like that. So that's just part of that responsibility that everybody's got a job to do. Whether we're on the edge, we're in our A gap, we just need to be in the right spot and tackle well. That's going to be a big part of this game. We got to be good tacklers.
All right, guys.
Yeah, Coach, just, I know y'all gotta play the Bears this
Yep.
week, but how ironic is it that y'all need some help from the Saints, in the big picture?
Oh, you had to go there. You just had to. I mean, we almost got through the season.
Yeah, that's it.
Well, look, it is what it is, and the only thing you can do is worry about yourself. And we just got to take care of business, and hopefully that the ball bounces our way a few times, and we're playing the next game, but we're taking care of the Bears. That's where we're at. So I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Good team win last week for our players in all three phases. Special teams, I thought Bradley did a phenomenal job. One, congrats to Bradley and his wife Kaylee, had their first baby, had a baby girl. Then, come into the game, our job was to be able to eliminate their returners, whether it's kickoff coverage, their kickoff return, punt versus their punt return. And I thought Bradley did a great job handling the game plan and being able to eliminate them with help of our coverage units with, Cordell Hodge, Matt Collins on the perimeter, forcing fair catches. Liam did a great job with the snap operation, making sure we're clean in protection. And then obviously Ku being able to go 5 for 5 and make all his kicks and PATs and help us solidify and win that game. So big compliment to all of our guys, all of our core players, our specialists. They did a great job in the game to help our team, both offense and defense, be in good field position, put points on the board. And we look forward to this week versus Chicago. I think it's going to be a great atmosphere for our players, another away game, playing football in December, late December. That's what you want, or it's a meaningful game, playoff-type game for us, atmosphere, and go out there and put our best foot forward. They have good returners with Trent Taylor and then Velus Jones Jr., who is a really good kickoff returner. He had a decent return versus us last year. And then they have core players where you talk about Jack Sanborn. He's a good player, linebacker body type. They have on the perimeter, Jalen Jones, he's a really good player. Blackwell's a good player. They got really good coverage players, and then Santos is having a really good season. He's been really good since he's been there. I think he's over 90% in Chicago as a kicker, which is hard to do playing in the NFC North. And then Trenton Gill, good job flipping the field as a punter. So we're very excited for this opportunity this week, D-Led, Mike, Taryn, to go out there and put our best foot forward and help our team win this game this week.
Did you all celebrate Ku being named the Special Teams Player of the Week yesterday?
He was recognized for it. But that comes with the territory. That's our job. One, as a field goal unit. Big credit to our guys, Jake, Chris Lindstrom, Lagoo out there. You got Calais, Prue, Newsel holding it down at the guard position. We actually had an opportunity in the game, D-Led, our last field goal that we had. The third down, Newsel usually plays guard for us a field goal, but on that third down he went in as a big tight end, so he reported as eligible. Mm-hmm. But then it went to fourth down, so he had to stay in the game as an eligible player. So in that play, we actually had to put him at a tight end position on our field goal protection. So it's a big credit to our offensive linemen being able to be locked into that. We had to make certain adjustments. We had a different lineup on that last field goal, and we were able to execute it, put it through the uprights. But, yeah, he's recognized for it. That's what we're supposed to do, put points on the board, D-Led, when it comes to field goal operation. Just so happened he made all 7 of them and put us in position to win the game. So it's cool that he got recognized for it. But if you ask Ku, it's the entire field goal unit, snap, hold, protection, everybody. It's a team award for us.
And Trenton Gill, how's he punting for him? He touched on the other key guy.
Hey, Trenton Gill's flipping the field. He had a 76-yard punt this last game versus Arizona where he ended up flipping the field, using the wind to his advantage. There is some type of wind. There is wind direction. I know, Mike, we've been there before playing in Soldier Field, how the wind blows off the lake to or from the lake, and he used that to his advantage to be able to flip the field. He has a strong leg. I know we worked him out in the draft process a couple years ago, went up to NC State. He's talented, whether he could kick the ball off, kick it through the back of the end zone. He has directional ability, but he has the ability to flip the field, and he has a bunch of different club selection. He can hit end over end, banana punt, which we talked about earlier in the year, where he could kind of hit the ball going this way and it takes a weird bounce and it's hard for the returners to catch. So he has a bunch of different tools that I know Coach Hightower up there as the coordinator will kind of use to their disposal versus our return team.
Do you think that might actually lead to CP taking a kick and returning it?
We'll see. If they give us opportunity, we got to take advantage of it. I think CP's still doing a good job of making the right decisions. He's not trying to return every single ball. And you go against these kickers that are becoming stronger and stronger, where they're hitting the ball deeper and deeper in the back of the end zone. You play in the game late December in Chicago, Illinois, at Soldier Field, there might be some opportunities to take some balls out. But we got to make sure that we do a good job if we have those opportunities, Mike. Make sure that we're getting back with urgency, we're blocking everybody. All 11 guys are doing their job, including the returner. We say in our room, it's not just the returner with the ball in his hands, that's the playmaker. It's the other 10 guys helping making those plays, and it came to life last year when we did play Chicago, and that was a big return for us to help us win that game.
This might be a non-factor, but you've been in Chicago before in terms of that field.
Yes, sir.
The field is
It's a football field.
It is a football
Yeah.
field, or this table painted with lines.
You said that.
I did.
Okay.
It's a hard. I mean, that's been proven as a hard surface.
Mhm.
Did that affect potentially coup at all, and that field goal operation in terms of footing or in terms of even the ball getting down? Like, can that play a role at all in terms of any of that?
Yeah, that's a great question. There's a lot of different variables, Mike, when you play at different stadiums, whether you play on grass, whether you play on turf, whether it's cold, whether there's some precipitation. Those are things that we work on, whether we're on our field working on different things. Like, for instance, the other day we're working on field goal and the footing was kind of bad in a certain spot. Well, we're able to make adjustments in game or in play adjustments before the play's about to start with Liam, with Bradley, to make sure that we have a clean spot for a coup to kick off of, or he has a clean area to put his plant foot and his left foot down before he makes contact. So those are things that we do work on, and we have a plan for it, and we try to work on it on the practice field. And then when we get to the stadium, those guys get to the stadium and they get there early, we go out there and we go through our field goal routine. We look at the field, look at the hashes. Where's the trouble spots? Where's the potential trouble spots? Where's the spots that are good? Hey, if we're on this right hash, hey, this is kind of lumpy. How do we want to handle this? So those are things that we work on. And we want to make sure that we're prepared before any opportunity presents itself. So when we go out there, whether it's a fourth down play, I got to have it in the game, or if it's a PAT, we're able to go out there and execute that and put the ball through the uprights. So it could be a challenge, but that's where we get paid to do that as a coach, as the players, and we got to go out there, and nobody cares about the surface. They care about us putting the ball through the uprights and putting points on the board.
Yeah, Coach, the list of Hall of Fame finalists came out yesterday, and Devin's on there. Your thoughts on Devin Hester being a finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame this year?
Well, congrats to him. I'm excited for him personally. Got the opportunity to intern with the Bears back in 2013. That was his last year there, and being able to work with him on the field during training camp and seeing what type of person he is, and just admiring his career from afar, then being able to work with him and coach him during training camp was an awesome opportunity. And I'm excited for him. I hope everything works out for him and his career and his opportunity to potentially get into the Hall of Fame. And again, we talked about it before, D-Led. He changed the game when it came to special teams, when it came to the return game, how people wanted to cover kicks, how they wanted to call plays on offense based on getting them in a fourth down situation. And anytime you're impactful in the game in that fashion, I think you have strong considerations to be a Hall of Famer.
Thank you, Coach.
No problem. Thank you.
How did you feel Taylor handled his first start?
Yeah, sure. I thought, came in there and I thought he executed at a high level. I thought the players around him, you could just see just come out of the gate, right? The first drive, good tempo, able to go in there and, I think the way that you saw him operate is no different than you saw in the practice field that we've been seeing since really through training camp all the way through. And it was great to see the guys around him play at a high level, and he was able to facilitate the ball.
Why do you think the offense operated maybe the best it's been since you guys have been here on Sunday versus some of the other things that you guys have seen throughout the year?
Yeah, I mean, you can characterize a lot of different ways, right? I just think for what we saw last Sunday was, our ability to take what the defense was giving us, protect the football, and try to sustain drives, which, again, regardless of who you're playing, right, Michael? I mean, at the end of the day, those are probably the qualities and characteristics you're looking for. And I think going out there and sure, there's times where, look, the defense, we're in a bad situation. We put ourselves in a bad situation, and you don't want to make things worse. There's already times where you're aggressive and you see something as a quarterback and you take a shot and you have a certain feel about it. And sometimes you're just not feeling it as a quarterback spot. You're not seeing it clean. You just want to see the ball go through the hoop sometimes from a completion standpoint. I just thought more than anything else, it was great energy in the stadium. The guys came out focused, intent to go out there and play at a high level on offense. And it was great to see, fun to watch.
Coach, what would be some of the issues against the Bears defense with
Sure.
up front and the linebackers they have? And,
Yeah.
secondary?
Again, there's a couple of players that I'm still familiar with from my time there, but they've done a pretty good job of turning players over and getting really good football players in that fit exactly what Coach Eberflus wants to do schematically. And again, you watch the intent of specifically the front seven, and man, they're in sync. The back end does a great job with Eddie of hiding, disguising. Jalen does a great job of making plays on the football. And, you've got the other players with Brisker and Gordon, their ability just to be in, like the way they play off each other, the way they give disguise looks, it's really good. You can tell why they're playing really good football on defense. It's been really almost all year, but specifically lately. I mean, they do a great job of taking away things that you do well. They force you into situations that are advantage defense. And they do a really good job of playing to their strengths, which is fast, physical, make it hard on the quarterback, eyes on the quarterback with all the zone coverages. Do a great job of mixing enough man to keep you honest. But yeah, it's a credit to what they've instilled there. Completely different defensive structure from when I was there a few years ago to what they've done now, and you can see that their guys are flying around playing really good football.
And is it one of those situations where teams have been able to pass on them and the run defense is ranked number one because of that?
No, I think it's a good question, D-Led. I think it's a good question. I think more than anything else, you watch, this is a fast-starting football team. They get on teams early. They make it at times. There's been a few games where you turn out in the second half, and they're one-dimensional games because teams are playing catch-up. But I don't think it's because of, you have to throw it because of that's the weak. That to me, that's not the weakness. I don't think they have weaknesses, honestly. The way they play run defense in the front seven, the way they stir the front up, the way the linebackers play off the front, and I think the way the secondary plays with their eyes on the quarterback and the vision on the receivers, once the ball's thrown, like it's everything that you want defensively in terms of that's why they're so high in the turnovers. I think they play as good as anybody with vision. They read and react to the concepts in terms of what they're seeing in the secondary standpoint, and they got really good ability to get to the quarterback without having to pressure all the time. And if you can rush four, make it hard on the quarterback pre-snap and the post-snap, by the coverage of the rush and extra count, usually good things happen defensively, and they're doing a great job of that.
When you drafted Bergeron, you played, 20 minutes of guard, I think it was, in his life. Now that he's really gone through most of the season
Sure.
at this point, how has he adjusted compared to maybe what you thought this would potentially be?
Yeah, I don't know if I had initial ceiling on what I thought this player would be when we first took him. I think for us as a staff, there's a lot of conviction, like anybody that we've taken here, regardless if we draft them or they've been undrafted or we get them in free agency. Obviously, there's a vision for the player, and that's great. But the player has to meet you halfway in terms of understanding what we're asking of them, and they have to go out and execute, take the responsibility of being a professional. And again, you always with young players, specifically rookies, right? It's a long year, not just the season, training camp, OTAs. They have been essentially working out for the draft, the combine, all those things, and then they get drafted or somehow end up on a team. They move to a completely different city, get settled, everything else, and then enter the NFL, which again is the best of the best. So for him and all the young players that we've had since I've been here, I think just because of how Coach Smith sets the culture and standards, I just think that guys understand what being a professional is about, and they take that seriously. it's the type of players that we bring in here, and it's no different with Burge.
What has he done specifically that you think has stood out?
I think the mental aspect of it, I think the way he approaches the game plan, I think he's got great players, teammates with him in that O-line room, and he's got a coach that understands, now that he's been in the NFL a couple years led, what that takes and getting guys prepared. I mean, again, number of guys have stepped up in that O-line room. You think about the first couple of years, we didn't have that many injuries or things. You've had guys coming in and out, especially the last couple of weeks, and not missing a beat. And I think it's about the way those guys prepare. It's one thing physically to get at this level, but it's the preparation that sets you apart, it's the details. And I think that those guys have stepped into those roles regardless of age and handled themselves like professionals that they are.
In terms of the run game, why has it maybe not been as consistent as it was a year ago with what you guys were doing then?
Yeah, I think, we're all striving, regardless of what aspect, right? We're striving for consistency. And there's times, right, where, you always give credit, in my opinion, right, to the defense first. They're really good players on that side. It's our job as an offense, right, to scheme and find the best ways available to get our guys the best looks to take advantage of whatever they're doing defensively. And again, I think when you're looking for consistency, there's times, right, and we've said this before, and you've heard it a lot of times up here, not just for me, but it does take all 11 in the run game to be successful. And there's times where you're just slightly off on something, regardless of maybe a backtrack. It could be we missed at the quarterback spot a check, right? We maybe ID'd something, or we got a different look that they have never shown before. But relying back on your fundamentals, and sometimes those get you. But ultimately, look, we go out there, we try whatever play is called, run or pass. We try to take advantage of what we think we're going to get, and put our players in the best position to do that. And again, we still have games left to be played, and consistency is always the striving, what we're striving for. And no different than this week against a really good run defense, overall a really good defense. So the challenge will be there at Soldier Field for sure for us.
Do you have anything to share with Taylor on possible the wind conditions up there?
Yeah, look, I mean,
It can come from, I've seen it.
sure, you know this, D. I mean, you guys all know this. Like, you wake up on Sunday morning, honestly, and you go into the stadium, and you probably get in there around 10:30 from a player standpoint, and you do go out there. There's no doubt, right? And it's one of the first things I know when I was coaching the quarterback there, the Saturday night meeting, like you did bring out the weather report a little bit, and like, hey, this is what we're dealing with. You know how the winds, if we're saying 10 to 15 or 20, when you're there and you're the home team, you generally know the direction of the wind. Tunnel-wise. But, yeah, sure, there's going to be a little feeling out process, but, it can change quickly like you guys know there. But, look, it's going to be a phenomenal environment. Just going back, you're going playing in Soldier Field against a really good defense, and it's going to be a challenge for us regardless of conditions or no conditions.
With all these positives about the Bears defense, does it surprise you that they have the worst red zone stats in the league right now?
Yeah, I think I think statistics sometimes, right? And again, there's all phrases for stats. But when you put the film on and you just watch it methodically of how they play defense, regardless of the situation or where it is in the field or the score, and you just come away and you put the clicker down after you're done watching it, and you just come away impressed regardless of where it's at. So how the numbers are done and everything else, I got you. But when you watch them and you really study how they play, like they're a really good defense for a reason. It's because the players know exactly what they're supposed to be doing, and they know exactly how to deter a quarterback from seeing something pre-snap into post-snap, and they play really fast and they play very physical. And so if that's backed up between the 20s, fringe, red zone, whatever that is, again, I'm sure you can pull out a stat here or there to skew it differently. But I think it's just a very good defense top to bottom, regardless of where you're playing them at.
Would you be upset if they move the stadium away from Soldier Field?
That is not a question I'm equipped to answer anymore. Look, there's something about, at least I only can speak to my time there, right? There was just something about being in downtown Chicago on the lakefront, right? You pull into the stadium and you know the history of that stadium. And I just think look, I'm not that old, But I do think like there's something about those, like who's played in that stadium before you, the greats, the Hall of Famers, the rivalries in that place, and where it was located. And again, I know they've changed the outside of it and parts of it at least, but look, whatever they decide. But it's one of the cooler places historically when you go in there, and it does make it hard because of that lake. When I grew up in Cleveland and the way they built the old municipal stadium, right, D-Lad? The wind changed when they built the new stadium, and so that is part of your home field advantage of when you're a Midwest lake team that could have some lake effect snow or just how the winds go. But yeah, whatever they decide. But it is one of those places where when you walk in there, when you were coaching for them, you understood the history for sure.
Did you ever make it to the Arlington racetrack?
I have. I've driven by it. No, I was never inside of it, but I know exactly where it's at. I mean, yeah, obviously you're in a suburb, not in the city.
Suburb right there, so.
Yeah, right.
Sad that racetrack is.
You are. Yeah, you're closer to O'Hare, further from Midway. Right. Thistledown. No, down, D-Lad. God, we got a Thistledown reference in here, man.
I mean, this is one of really two places where you spend a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 3 if you include Washington. When you go back to one of these places, do you get like nostalgic a little bit, like your memories start coming back? I don't know, maybe more intense.
Yeah, look, we'll see. I haven't been a visitor here, and since I've left. But look, there's still people within the organization. There's people outside the organization that I am still friends outside of football that I have close. One, believe it or not, an older Italian man is like a grandfather of my kids. So like there's part of that there for sure. My kids grew up most of their lives there, right? So I mean there's part of that, but look, I mean you're going in there and we got an awesome opportunity to play a really good team, playing meaningful games late in December. Like when that ball kicks off, it's all about ball.
You've had, I mean, people are talking about you as a potential All-Pro, certainly a potential Pro Bowler. Like, what would you say has been the thing that's maybe surprised you the most of what you've been able to accomplish this year?
I wouldn't say I would say not surprised at all. I've always had confidence in myself that I was, one of the best players, whether I had 6 picks, whether I had 1 pick. I always thought that what I brought to the table was, some of the best work in this league, and that's what I believe in. Now that the stats are a little bit higher this year, that still doesn't change, how confident I am in myself and my teammates. So just super thankful to have, really good coaches, really good players around me so I can do my job.
When you left Cincinnati to come here, was that some of the thought in your head of like, I want to prove him the best safety in the NFL or second best, however you view that?
Yeah. When I came over here, I thought a lot of people was like, you're just making a bad decision. But, I looked at it as a challenge to come in here and, we had that rebuild in Cincinnati, and then I thought of this same thing as the same process of a great city, a great place to come in and rebuild and become a playoff team. And, we've gotten close to that. We're not done. But, yeah, I think that was my idea of it, with it being a challenge. People questioning that decision, but I think it's worked out pretty well for me so far.
Did you always have to take more of a leadership role than you anticipated once Grady went down?
Yeah, a little bit. A little bit more on the talkative part. With Grady being out, obviously his presence is really big, just in the locker room. Coach would always ask him to talk pre-game, post-game, and that wasn't always my strength, but it's been a good challenge for me to be able to step into that role and be a little bit more vocal, which is something that I need to work on. So it was a great opportunity for me.
Calais had told me that in some ways what you would be able to do once Grady went out allowed him to kind of still be more, not in the shadows, but kind of secondary, which is kind of what his plan was. Did you talk to him about that, like at some point of just saying, okay, hey, listen, like this is how this is going to go? Or?
Yeah. I know Calais. He walked up to me and was like, "Hey, I need you to talk, today." And I'm like, I got to think of something. I'm a big planner. I try to, have something, at least in my mind, a message to kind of give the guys. And I'm happy that, an OG like Calais has kind of given me the confidence to kind of step up. And he knows what type of player I am. And now it's like part of that, you gotta be able to talk, to, your younger guys, older guys, whoever it is, you got to be able to talk when you're a leader on the team. So that's something that I've gotten better over the time, for sure.
You mentioned that the numbers are really showing through this year. Why do you think this year in particular it's translated?
I don't think when I was in Cincinnati, it's a completely different conference. AFC, NFC, a little bit different. But yeah, I think that there's been more opportunities for me to, go get the ball a little bit this year. In Cincinnati, I thought we had really good defense, but sometimes it's too good almost. Like you can't make any plays. But it's just part of the game. Some years you're going to have a lot of tackles, some years you're not. But as long as you stay the same person and try to become a better player every year, I think that's the goal. It don't really matter about the stats and stuff. So.
After having a complete win like that on Sunday, do you feel like the energy has changed at all in practice? Like, has it been lighter, or what's the vibe been like this week?
Yeah, I thought, coming off that big dub that we got, it's been the same message. I think last week you guys were like, why is the energy so hype in the locker room? You guys just coming off these 2 losses. And I feel like it's the same exact juice. Nobody cares about what we did last week. The goal for this week is to go 1-0 and go up to Chicago and get a big win and stay in this playoff race.
But yeah, just preparing for the game. The run game looks like their bread and butter. What challenge is that for the unit? For all 11 of them?
Yeah, they done a really good job of running the ball. I think there's a stat out there like if they rush over 100 yards, they do a really good job of winning those games. So that'll be a challenge. But this time it's not just the running back that's out there rushing.
Mm-hmm.
The quarterback plays a big role in that part of it. So we're going to have to keep him in the pocket. Try to get guys off. Got to get them off track. Get them in 3rd and long like we've been doing these last couple weeks, and get off on 3rd and long. I think that's where our D-line starts getting more sacks. DBs start getting their hands on the ball. So we got to get them off track and make sure it's not a 3rd and 3 type of game. That'll be big.
Jesse, what's the biggest difference you've seen in DeMarco Hellams from when he came in as a rookie in training camp? Obviously, there's a lot thrown at his plate to where he is now as a starter.
Yeah, when Marco first came in, I always thought he was a great football player. Just naturally, you could kind of see him naturally feel for, coverages and, what offenses are trying to do. But now I feel like Marco's starting to get that confidence in himself where, I belong, and, that's a good thing to have. I remember being in those same shoes as a rookie, coming in like maybe I don't belong, maybe I do. I'm making a couple plays. So for him to, strive with the opportunity that has presented has been really good. Marco, like I said, since day one I've always, seen him, as a starter in this league, and I just think that he's a hell of a player, and his better days are to come.
This might be a little bit of a weirder and different kind of off but on topic question. Do you have a New Year's resolution? Like, what is it?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that. Me and my lady, we're probably going to reflect after this football season, and then I feel like for football players, our New Year's is after football season, so you kind of be able to reflect on how the year went and try to reset goals, and not just with football but with life as well, and then write them down and make sure you execute them for 2024.
Going back to what you said before about kind of having to talk more, and have you ever had to do that? Like, was that something you did at Wake, or like?
Say again. I'm sorry.
Like having to talk more and be.
Yeah.
Like, did you even do that at Wake, or were you even able to kind of be not that guy at Wake?
Yeah. I was still at Wake Forest. I was still a young guy. I came out early, so I was never vocal at all there either. It's just something that I've always kind of stay low key and try to do my own part and lead by example. But as your role continues to increase and you get, you start balling a little bit, you get a little older, You know, you got to step up. You got to have that leadership role. Be able to spread your knowledge and your experiences throughout, you know, your years. So yeah.
And when you came here from Cincinnati, did you think you play as much free safety as you are? Because I mean, at Cincinnati, you literally moved everywhere and you were in the box.
Yeah. I felt like in Cincinnati, I was more of a free safety. Here, you know, Coach Nielsen does a really good job of, you know, switching that up, making sure sometimes I'm in the box, sometimes I'm blitzing a lot more than I have before. So yeah, that's something I got to get better at with things I'm not used to doing. But it's just the knowledge and having the experience of other guys doing it, watching other guys doing it, and trying to do it my way as well. So yeah.
What kind of preparation and like extra hard work behind the scenes that people probably don't know about goes into having like an ultimate prototype season?
I mean, a whole lot, just a lot of hours. You know, thinking about, you know, from your physical, preparation to getting your body into, incredible shape, where you go out there and perform at a high level. I mean, full speed every play. And he's a guy who don't come off the field. That's hard to do. You're averaging 75 plays a game. That's just, it's impressive. Then you got to have the mental preparation, the studying the tape. There's so many hours that go into that. Then it's to taking care of your body to make sure you're available. Countless other things that go into it. The guy just, he's spectacular. But all of us, and he'll be the first one to tell you that, his success, is a product of all of us, working together and doing it together. And that's just, the way football goes. It's the best thing about football is that you need all 53 guys to show up and perform for anybody that has success. And but there are certain guys who definitely, make everybody else around them better. And he's one of those guys that make the whole team around them better.
After Sunday's win, you were pretty animated, talking to fans, wishing everybody Merry Christmas. How's that energy translated to practice, and how does it feel to have that complete win on Sunday?
Well, it's always good to win in the NFL, and it's never easy. I think Christmas brings definitely a lot more energy. You're in a celebratory mood, and you got all your family and close friends by, having a home game, being able to celebrate. Definitely brought a little extra energy. But to be able to get back in the win column, and win decisively, is a good feeling. Especially against a team I feel like is a pretty good team. It was a good feeling. But obviously it doesn't mean anything if we don't do it again this week. And practice has been great. Seeing the guys flying around. Seeing the guys just really embracing the moment, not really trying to do too much, just, having fun, but still focused and doing all we can to prepare for this week.
Hey, how's the season been for you? You still having fun at 37?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I still love it, that's for sure. I remember when I was younger and I kind of dreaded, being here all day. And then it just had an epiphany when I got a little older that, this is a privilege, Every time I get to come into the building, I come through with just a mentality like this is a complete joy. And so I say that, it hasn't changed. I still come in, I wake up in the morning on my drive, and I look forward to coming to work, being in the building, being around the guys. It's definitely it's a pleasure. It's a get-to job, Not everybody gets to do it, I'm lucky enough to still be able to get to do it.
And what about next year?
I haven't put a lot of thought into it. We'll see. Obviously you want to finish this year with a bang. But, I still love the game. That's where it starts. And then how my body feels and if I can still do it at a high level. I don't want to be out here bad. I want to still be an elite player, And so, I think that, we'll see how these last couple of games go and go from there.
Do you go sit on the beach and for a little bit and think about it? And
I'm going to go take a trip. I'm going to go get away from the game, and then we'll see if I get that itch start coming back. Last year I was surprised it came back pretty quick.
Okay.
We'll see how it does this year. I just don't know. But I'm definitely going to take some time coming from the game before I make any decisions. So.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right.